Welcome back to Unlocking Success. Today we're diving into something that every high performer in real estate needs: mindset mastery. In Dubai's fast-paced, commission-based market, success doesn't just depend on hustle, it depends on mental resilience, emotional balance, and knowing how to keep going when stakes are high and you don't really feel like it. Joining me today is Mark Samways, Director of Wellbeing at the Free Spirit Collective. Mark spent years helping people find clarity, balance, and peak performance, from corporate leaders to entrepreneurs and sales professionals. Together, we'll unpack what really drives sustainable success and how to protect your mental health as you chase it. Mark, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
For those watching on the camera, the mows were not actually planned, but we're not disappointed. Look, there's probably a lot we can go through today, a lot of interesting topics. And I think one thing to be conscious of as we're chatting is our audience and people that are going to be listening to this are real estate agents, people on the floor at various stages of their careers, prospective real estate agents, maybe people that are looking to dive into the role, and hopefully they're going to take away some, good nuggets away from this about what it really takes upstairs to be successful, right? So before we go into strategies and interesting topics about how to maybe manage mindset, I think let's talk about the elephant in the room, is that the job is a mental minefield, right? I think no matter what stage you're at, there's an array of emotions that you're exposed to in the role. And it's a roller coaster of 1 minute you're on top of the hill and the next minute you're under it, and everything in between. So I guess a good place to start is, as an agent, how do you protect yourself against that constant barrage of ups and downs and emotional resets?
I think it's really hard because you've got to take a long-term view on your income. And I think for lots of people that they find great comfort in having a set salary every month, and there's consistency in there. And, I know that no matter what happens, then this is coming and I can plan my bills and everything else. And it doesn't work like that in this industry, and in different industries as well. And I think that is an incredibly challenging change to get used to. And what we notice when people do start to struggle is they get very close to problems. And what we're asking people to do is to zoom out all the time and say, right, you need to look at it as a 12-month process, and don't get so fixated on 1 month. But when you're in the middle of that month,
it's really hard for them to not do that, isn't it?
It is really, really hard. And, I work on the same model as you guys. And I know that I find that too. And I have, arguably 3 months a year. Mine will be July, August, and December, that I know I'm not going to do the same as I will in September, October, November, for example. And when I'm in the midst of that, my Christmas dinner, sometimes it's on the back of my mind, and I'm thinking, should I be doing this or whatever? But that's where we really do have to step back and look at our role over the course of a year and not get too sucked into each and individual day and individual month. And
I think you're spot on. And I think from an agent, it's really tough, like you said, to zoom out, because every call they make, or every meeting they go to, every viewing they do, every day that goes, every week that goes, every month that goes. So agents in the business are targeted on monthly targets, right? So from the next month, you reset from zero, regardless of how well or how poorly you've done. And I think it's just a constant battle with agents of staying not flat, not on one level, right? But learning how to ride the wave, not get drowned, not drowning under it. Which is easy. It's easier said than done, right? But from what advice perhaps would you give an agent that is really struggling with the peaks and troughs, and they're like, I've had a great day, but tomorrow I got nothing out of it, or last month I was top biller, but this month I've done zero. How do you stay?
Look, we need to focus on what's in our control always. So the fact is, on whatever your billing's like, if it's month to month, so the first on every month, everybody across the organization starts on zero. It doesn't matter who you are, how long you've been here. Everybody gets the same experience and that same joy. I have the same experience and same joy too. And so we can't control that. We sign up to that at the start. So therefore, focusing on that and saying, God, that's difficult. that doesn't get you anywhere because there's nothing you can do about it. And again, in times of struggle, if we focus on things that are outside of our control, it's going to make them feel worse. So where the mind is powerful is we teach it what to believe, not necessarily what to think, but what to believe. So we're not in control of our thoughts. Sometimes we are going to get random things that pop up and we're like, where did that come from? But what we do with them is more in our control. So how do we view the start of every month? Do we view it as an opportunity, or do we view it as a deflating point, essentially, where I go, last month it was really nice, and I felt very comfortable from the 15th to the 30th because I'd done the groundwork in the first 2 weeks. Oh no, I'm deflated again. Or do we see it as an opportunity? And that lies within you. That's where your power lies, and you will have to develop a relationship with the start of the month. And it's almost like the Sunday blues that people get, right? Yeah. It's the monthly blues, and you will need to find a narrative or a framework which works for you, which enables you to step into the month with more confidence than saying, hey, I can't believe I'm going back to zero. Well, I don't know how you can't believe it, because everybody in the organization does. Yeah. So we have to make that relationship and make it work for us. Ask other people how they do it. How do you prepare maybe the last 5 days of the month? Do we look at that as almost our next month? And I don't know. I think they're extremely poignant points that I hadn't thought before. And I've done this for nearly 10 years, right? And I think you make an excellent point saying that it's totally out of your control. It's coming no matter what, right? Yes. Whether you're having a fantastic time or not such good time, that reset is coming for you, and everyone's in the same boat. And I think that's an excellent way of framing it. Yeah. And I think maybe a good takeaway there is leaning on colleagues or talking to other people to see kind of what they're doing to prepare for the next month ahead, and really just controlling things that you can control. We have this conversation with agents all the time, right? Whether it's, you can't make someone buy a house, you can't make someone sell a house, you can't make them increase their offer, right? No. But I think that having that expectation management of just, I will control what I can control, and anything beyond that I've made peace with is a really powerful mindset, and I think is a really useful tip for our agents out there. Look, one of the worst things the human soul and spirit can experience is hopelessness. So if you go into the month, every month, feeling that sense of hopelessness of, I've gone back to zero again, that's not a positive frame of mind to move into the month. And it won't help you get out of it, right? No, it won't help you have a good month the next month. If you go into the new month in the same despair you left the previous one in. Right. I think almost it might be a cliche and a naive thing to say, but you can find opportunity in every failure, right? So it's about maybe looking back and thinking, okay, reset. What didn't go well? What could I do better? Absolutely. And how am I going to apply that to make sure that I don't feel like this again in 4 weeks' time? And also acknowledging perhaps you did a lot really well that month. Perhaps you just didn't get the rub of the green, and it's one of those things, and we can put it down to that. But I absolutely agree. We learn everything in failure. We learn nothing in success. So I'll give you a really good example of that. So I've been in a sales director role for about a year and a half now. And for the first 6 months of the role, Charlie Bannon, who is the managing director, at the end of every month, I sent him a WhatsApp with a list of things that went well and things that didn't go well, right? And it really helped frame for me, if I had a great month, where could I work on things? And if I had a not so good month, it forced me to find the good and to write a list of things that went well. And we done that for the first 6 months of me being in the role, because it helped me, as you alluded to at the beginning, zoom out, look at the bigger picture and think, do you know what? It's not all bad. Even on a bad month, there's a lot of good work that could be done. And this is the conversation I have with agents a lot. When I talk about in reviews, I say, how would you evaluate your own performance? And they usually associate that with results. But they're actually very different things. Yes, they are. Performance is, what do I put in? And results is not all you, right? No, it's not. And if you look at the psychology behind that and the research behind that, if you want to motivate people long term, focus on process, don't focus on outcome. Absolutely. It's the journey, not the destination. Cliche. It is. But genuinely, that's what inside people fosters a self-belief that I can make a difference. If you only focus on outcome, that doesn't develop. So when we focus on process, we foster a sense of resilience and personal belief that I can affect the outcome. That's what we're trying to do.
I think that's a brilliant framework that agents can really lean into. And it takes us really nicely onto the next point I want to explore, which is motivation, right? A lot of agents come into this job for money.
Yeah.
That is probably the headliner. They want to have a better income or a better lifestyle or whatever, right? But the umbrella term is I would like to earn more money.
Yeah.
But money can only motivate you to a certain point, I believe.
Yes.
Because when you're in the dumps and you're finding it tough, money isn't so important.
Yeah.
And also when you're earning lots of money, it all becomes a little more meaningless and you need something else. So how does an agent find that something else, or how does an agent explore their why?
Yeah.
Which I think is a less common conversation than more people think. I think a lot of people are aware of the concept, but if you sit down with people and actually ask them, okay, why, and really get to the core of it, they get a bit stuck and they don't really know.
Yeah.
So how would you guide someone on finding what really is your true motivation?
That's the million dirham question. So I'm pleased that we're tackling it. And, I think it's important to say there's nothing wrong with being motivated by money at all. I think lots of people are, and I wouldn't necessarily shy away from that. I would shy away from the fact that, as you're alluding to, the why, if you think it's going to make you happy, you are grossly mistaken. So I think, yes, it can be a source of motivation. If it's because I want to be happy, then we need to readdress that. And there's a lot of research on that. And they've looked at lottery winners and how long does that high last for? It's about 6 months.
People think it solves all their problems.
They do. Right? And look, as some of agents know, and people know generally, financial stresses are awful. They are there 24/7 every month. And when you're on the commission based setup, it can be a very dark and lonely place at times. So let's not pretend like it's
I'm not negating the fact that we have bills, we have to put a roof over our head, and we have car payments and all that stuff. And you're totally right. Money is a necessity. And I think that a good quote that I heard actually fairly recently was that when you have money, it enables you to think about other things other than money.
Yeah, so true.
Right?
Yeah.
What is the more? What is the why?
And a really great question. And often this is a topic that's brought to therapy spaces. And meaning is all about values, our values, and it being in action. Actually, one of the things that we're seeing quite a lot in the therapy space is the impact of AI on people.
Yeah.
So part of happiness, one of the components of happiness is meaning. So there's satisfaction, enjoyment, and meaning. We're generally as satisfied and generally getting as much enjoyment out of everyday life. Actually, meaning is falling off a cliff for a lot of people at the moment. And why? Because so much of these things are becoming automated. So if we think about, having to construct like a really great argument or a sales pitch or something like that you would have worked on before, I don't know, I'll try to make it relevant. It probably isn't, but
no, I think you're alluding perfectly. I know what you're going to say next.
If you did that yourself and you went round and you spoke to people who were selling in that area and what have you sold and tell me, and you did that research and then you put together this like beautifully crafted proposal. Yeah, thank you. That word wasn't coming to me. No,
that's why there's two of us on there.
Then you get a lot of meaning from that because you've worked really hard. You took it, put it into ChatGPT or wherever else, and it chucked it out. There's no meaning. So yes, money can provide so much, but happiness is about meaning. And so thinking about, and I like your question of, okay, but why? And I think money, I think it's probably remiss if it's not a segment of it. And I think that's not a bad motivator. But why else are you doing it? Is it because of the diverse people that you get to meet? Is it the hustle and bustle of it? And you really like getting into that? Is it that you're actually really interested in architecture or design or into different like residences and things like that? What is it that's going to get you out of bed on those difficult days? Because when you're in a low month, it's not going to be money.
Absolutely.
So we then need to find that. Why is it? Because actually you really like being at work and you've got a great team around you and there's camaraderie and there's, whatever else that's happening. What else is there? And why, as I said, is all about a values driven. So act with complete integrity in all the transactions that I do, or I am a nice person. And, when I see another agent struggling or having a difficult day, I'm going to make time for them too, because that's important to me. And that gives us a lot. So you must find what it is that is your why, as you're saying.
I think money can only give you that dopamine hit for a short period of time, right? I think to make it relevant to our industry, once you sell a house or you rent a house and you make the money and you bank the commission, I don't know, there's probably a scientific number for this, but it doesn't last long, right? That dies down pretty quickly. Yeah. So I think agents asking themselves and having that really tough conversation, which I think people shy away from, if I'm honest with you, right? I've been here for 9 years, probably only the last 3, I've really had a clear picture on why I do it. Okay. The first 6, I think I just was happy to be here. Right? I didn't really think about why I was here and what I can do. And I think when you really think about the intangible things that you can achieve from doing your job or anyone's job, right? Be it yours or mine or anyone else's, there's an intangible feeling or accomplishment that you can get other than just stuff, right? Yeah. And I'm not trying to sound above it, because money is important. We all like to have nice things. I don't doubt that, right? But I've had days where I don't want to come to work. I've had days where I feel super stressed. And if you said to me, here's money, it wouldn't motivate me whatsoever, right? Yeah. And I think it's that the age-old discussion between motivation and discipline. What is it that keeps you on track all the time, even when you really, really don't want to? So I think it's a really important topic for agents to look inwards, have that uncomfortable conversation with themselves or someone that they are close with. Would you maybe suggest having this conversation intrinsically or with a specialist, with a friend, with a family member? Like how do you
anywhere really, any of those? When I talk about seeking advice or going to people, you need to assess their level of emotional intelligence. So it might not necessarily be your line manager, your best. I always give the example of one of my really good friends back home, and he knows that I do this, so I'm not completely setting him down the river. But he's pretty useless at these conversations, and he accepts that. And he's a wonderful person. I love him dearly. But there's limitations to what I will go to in that moment, because that's not his forte, and that's not his fault. That's just not his forte. So having somebody within your life, and it could be your direct line manager, it could be, another colleague, it could be someone external, if that's what what you choose, but just make sure that they're able to sit with you in that space and just be with it. Yes, we want like an element of coaching and to help and to try and maybe give some advice, but also that sitting in with the emotion and being like, I know what it's like down here. Like it gets pretty dark sometimes, and you're safe. I'm with you, and it's okay that you're feeling that way. And so that would be my advice, is making sure that whoever you turn to has the skills to support you. It's like going, to a dinner party with somebody that can't cook. Like you're going to leave hungry. So that's and it might not be the person you think, right? It might not be your partner or someone. They could be very helpful for all manner of things, but I do think this is a niche. It's not skill, but if my mind's going now thinking, who do I go to? And they're probably people that people don't expect. They're just people that I feel very comfortable with and very open with. And I know that whatever I give them will sit really well, and they'll be able to package it in a way that makes sense to me. So I do think it's important that people have that person. Can I ask you how you found your why?
How I found my why? Very long story short, we've only got a certain amount of time. But before I come into the sales director role, I'd done a lot of soul searching. I know that I wanted to step up into a management role, but the person I was at the time wasn't suitable for it. And that was made known to me by people in the business and people out the business. It was a bit of a tough time, and I had some personal drama as well. And it was a really, really tough time for me. And I started seeing a therapist. And I still do to this day. And I think it was just I read the books, I listened to the podcasts, I spoke to someone. And I think if you speak to people who are close to me, my family, my friends, they will say that there was a noticeable change in my personality, I guess, right? And I think on that journey, I really just had to sit down and think to myself, like, why am I doing all this? Again, I'm not trying to derail the conversation, but it was a very tough time for me, right?
Yeah. But you did the work. This is what I'm hearing.
So I had to kind of think about, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Because it's all really tough, and it could be easier if I just don't, right? Which is a dangerous space to be in. And then I just worked out, why I do this, and why I do what I do every day, and why I turn up on time and I leave late. And I think, it's just because I have a good opportunity to impact many lives in a very positive way. Cool. And the more people that I can help, the more people I can help find their whys, the better feeling it gives me. Money doesn't really touch the sides of me, and honest with you. And
I'm conscious of time and not derailing it, but I just
derail.
But what I hear there is really candid feedback. You're not where you currently are. You're not ready to take that next step, which would have been a crushing blow, because we all, it was crushing at the time. That's really tough. But now you probably look back and think, thank goodness they were that honest with me, and I'm better off for it. And that's a sign of character, that you could have just left, but you didn't, and you did the work. And I think now found that why through doing the work. And I think that's really what I want to instill in people that are listening or watching to this, is it doesn't come easily or naturally. Like it's a lot of work.
It doesn't come like a flash of light in a dream.
No.
Right? I wish it did. It'd be much easier and much cheaper as well, right? But it takes a lot of time and effort and a lot of exploring. And I think my advice to a lot of the guys, my team know me very well, and I'm very heart on sleeve. And I think that the long way is the shortcut. And I think that you have to be willing to eat glass for a period of time to be able to enjoy the spoils afterwards, right? Amazing. So I'm all down for that. Back on track now. This job is 24/7. I sleep thinking about work. I wake up thinking about work. I talk to my phone before I talk to my partner. We encourage agents to have little work-life balance, I think, in the beginning to get the wheels spinning. And that can be all-consuming, and it can go a little bit too far. People can experience fatigue, burnout, and it can have the undesired effect, right? So how does an agent, at what point does that drive become early burnout? And where do you draw the line, right? I remember as an agent picking up the phone at, godly hours, 11 o'clock, midnight, just to speak to an inquiry that would go nowhere. But I was just so not desperate. I just wanted it so bad. But it's unhealthy. To a degree, right? So where do you draw that line?
There's no black and white line. I think this is partly where the issue lies, is that it's such an individual thing. We all have individual capacities in any given moment and any given time. I think, and I agree with you, I think Dubai as well, it's very connection and community. It's what I notice anyway. Are sort of driven, and you've got to put those hard yards in, and then you foster those relationships, and then everybody kind of knows everybody, and then you get introduced, and like it works really well. And I think it does reward hard work actually, which is quite nice in some ways, but it is a lot of hard work because there's always people that are willing to work hard. And I think that's where, coming back to the why and putting that into this segment as well, if you do it for the sake of doing it, you're not going to last. This is a longevity sort of business. And so if you can do it with your values still in check, and you are going to last longer than somebody else that's, a sprinter. We're after marathon runners here. And if you just sacrifice your whole self, you're not going to last. So it's kind of a trial and error here. I think whenever you're pushing limits, you're going to fail. And that's not a bad thing, but we do need to recognize, failure in inverted commas quicker, and being open to feedback. And I know the team here, and we've done some work with the management and things like that in terms of trying to really support mental health across the organization. And I think that's amazing, because then there can be feedback, hopefully, before sort of desperation.
We can foresee it.
Yeah, absolutely. But trying to be slightly more in tune with yourself and saying, I don't like this. Like I'm losing my rag a little bit more than I perhaps usually do. And for me, that's when I recognize, honestly, when I'm feeling a bit more tired or burnt out, is my behavior tends to deteriorate a little bit. I'm sort of a child in that way, you know, when I'm tired or hungry.
Spit your dummy a little bit.
Oh, I've got a few dummies. So, but they're telltale signs. You know, if we think about emotions, they're energy, emotion. So we often shy away from, you know, challenging emotions or negative emotions. And, you know, I don't like that term, but all it is a piece of information. So just take a moment to sit with that. What's it trying to tell you? What's it trying to tell that you need? And if you're going to push yourself to the limit, which ambitious agents will do, which is great, acknowledge that sometimes it's not going to go very well and you're going to push yourself too far, and that's okay. But then we must step back. So being open to that feedback, thinking about what our non-negotiables are. We need to have some boundaries. Just saying I'm going to be on 24/7 that's not sustainable either. So whatever your non-negotiables are, even if they're small or tiny, you know, at the beginning, and they get larger as you progress, we must have some things in there that we say, I can't take that call, I'm going to that class. Yeah.
If I'm at dinner with my partner, my phone's down. Or if I remember when my mother first come on a holiday to visit me in Dubai 9 years ago, she will remind me of this till she's blue in the face as I spend the entire time on the phone.
Yeah.
And I look back at that and think, it's a good story, but that didn't really land very well.
Because on the podcast.
Her first experience of Dubai was her son being on the phone the entire time. And I think what I'm hearing in your response is agents having this self-awareness that what is my capacity? And it's a conversation I have with agents all the time.
Yes.
I don't need you to be here. If you're here from 7:30 a.m. till 9 o'clock at night, that doesn't necessarily mean you're doing a good job, right? That can actually be working as a big detriment to you.
Yes.
I would rather you are here 9 till 6 or 9 till 5 if you really want, and your contracted hours, or as flexible as you need to be to get good work in within your capacity. And I think you alluded to it perfectly, is that everyone's capacity is different.
Yeah.
As soon as I put my tie on in the morning, I'm on, and I'm on till I go to bed. And that's something that I've worked on for a long time. Yeah. But someone's capacity, especially if they're new in the industry or new in the role, might be a little bit smaller. So having this forgiveness as well.
Yes.
That if John's here till 9 o'clock at night, slamming the phone and he's that guy's not off. Maybe John's done some different kind of work or has some different capacity to what you do.
Yeah.
And having that recognizing that actually, do you know what, I'm getting a bit ratty now.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a bit short-tempered and my calls aren't going so well, and I'm negotiating badly, and so maybe I need to take a step back. And I think that's a really good reminder to agents, is to have this self-awareness.
Absolutely.
Because you better than anyone, right?
Correct.
You'd like to think. Longevity in real estate is another good point you touched on there. So I think people think real estate is a short-term job. I'm going to be here for 1 or 2 years, make a quick buck and go back to my home country and build my mansion, live happily ever after. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. We all get sucked in a little bit longer. And it can be, and it should be a career, right? It's something you can make a career out of. And we're very proud to have some legacy agents here that have been here for a very long time. But how, and I think we've covered this, and it's all going to come together quite nicely. I didn't plan it to come to a head like this. Is that how does an agent build that sustained longevity to do it for a long time? So obviously we've found our why, and we understand, we can recognize a bit of burnout, but how do you go from an agent that's fresh on the floor, they're pretty much all in, and then we've got agents that have been here for maybe a decade, they've got wife and kids, and it's a lifestyle now, right? And how do you transition into that, maybe pulling on things we've discussed, to have longevity in the role? Because agents say to me all the time, I'm really stressed, this is really tough, I'm not getting the response that I want, I'm not getting the feedback I want, or they are doing really well and maybe they've lost their mojo a little bit with it because they're doing well. How do you find that longevity to do it for a long time?
It's going to sound really fluffy.
Be fluffy.
The answer to me is love. And it sounds ridiculous, but
and that is always the answer.
Yeah, it's always the answer. Yeah, that's it. It's one of the core. When I work with young people now, and there's a lot of anxiety about the future, and there, a load of jobs that are going to be around aren't around, or a load that are, aren't going to be here. So I say again, you're focusing on things that are out of your control. What can you control? Well, I can follow passion. I can, and that will take you further than anything else. So if you want to pursue something, you need to develop a relationship with it. Love doesn't mean that it's going well all the time. If you look at, anybody that comes into therapy and says, I never argue with my partner, it's an immediate red flag for me.
I know, I've had the conversation.
So
it's not about not arguing, it's about arguing well. I've sat there.
There we go. It's healthy. So having moments, difficult moments. I've fallen out of love with therapy before, and I've really considered, is this the right path for me? And genuinely it's like a close to burnout, and I haven't done enough professional development and things like that. And then I do it, and then I'm back into it, and I'm like, this is my why. So it's not going to be for everybody. Some people are going to come in for a season, a reason, a lifetime, and all of that.
Yeah.
But if you want to stick at anything, you've got to develop this relationship of love with it, because you'll stick with it in the tough times, and you'll enjoy the good times. And love is what keeps you in because you know how good it can be.
And I think that's so powerful. It's like a hobby, or it's like a book you like, or it's like a series you like watching. Why do you do it? Oh, I love it. It's great, right? Yeah. And I think people are naive to think that can't be applied to the job. I do love my job. Yeah. I love coming in, speaking to people, doing good work, whether it's not particularly enjoyable, if it's complaints or or conflict resolution or whatever. I know there's not all sunshine and rainbows, but holistically I love my job, which enables me to come in and do it all the time. And I think you've it's not fluffy, it's very poignant. You have to love what you do, otherwise you're not going to stick to it very long, right? You can lie to yourself for as long as you want, but in terms of long term, you have to really be into it, right? So we spoke a lot about agents and the mindset they can have, but I'm also conscious that some people listening to this maybe in leadership roles, and they are in management roles. And when you move to management, something I discovered is that it's less about the numbers and more about the people and the culture.
Yes.
Because if you look after I can't sell houses, but if I look after the people in the culture, they will feel confident, happy, supported to go and sell houses, right? Yeah. So how does a leader or a manager operate in a high performance space where we expect a lot from our agents, right? I expect them to work hard. I expect them to go through the trenches, but also have that self-awareness that it is stressful. They are going to have some level of anxiety. Life gets in the way, and that's okay, and be forgiven around that.
Yeah. But since you threw an expression out there earlier, I'm going to, backhand one the other way, and it's culture eats strategy for breakfast. And it does. Culture is everything. If your culture is off and it's toxic, it's a disaster. It doesn't matter. Like, high performers will struggle in toxic environments. They might do well, but they won't thrive. So you're right to focus on culture, because once you get culture right, everything else just kind of falls into place. And again, it's not about culture being like just like this fluff and kindness and don't worry about it. No, it's how do you develop high performing cultures? It's high support but high demand.
Absolutely.
And so in this sort of arc of support and demand, what you see in toxic cultures is high demand, low support. And actually, low demand, high support is equally really damaging. And you get what you tolerate in organizations. And so if you're stepping into a management role, you are a manager, one of the things that you will need to develop a certain level of comfort with is conflict and difficult conversations. Whoever had that conversation with you and said, look, Harrison, I don't think you're quite ready to step into that. Did you the best service,
absolutely,
whenever, a few years ago, and you are better for it. At the time, different leaders. I didn't think
the same.
No.
The time.
You probably didn't.
Yeah.
And fine. But different leaders would have shied away from that conversation, may have enabled you to get a promotion, and then you wouldn't have been the manager that you are now, or the director that you are now, that you are. So what does high demand, high support look like on my team? Ask them what, management is all about individual relationships. And if you look at it in any team or anything, like, you can tell, as a football fan and a long time struggler of following Fulham and the pain that brings. But you can tell when there's something up in the team and in the dynamic.
Yeah.
And, we've had some really dark days, but when
Mark closes his eyes and puts his head down when he talks about that sort of stuff.
I'm under the table. I'm looking at flashbacks, but you can tell when culture goes, it's a difficult thing to and they change the manager and all of a sudden, things happen and cultures change. But you need to have an individual relationship. Some of the best managers have great personal relationships across their squad, different players, different needs. It's the same thing. We need to create these relationships and work out what motivates them. How am I going to get the best out of this group? And for you, it's going to look like this. For you, it's going to look like this. For some, it's complete autonomy. I just need to let you go, let it rip, and put a couple of guardrails up every once in a while and be like, whoa, you're going way off, like, back in you come, but keep going. I love it. And for other people, it's a really narrow, like, hold your hand a little bit more, like, build up the confidence. You're doing really well. Keep going. I see it. I'm noticing the strengths. I'm noticing, your bravery and vulnerability and everything else. But, they're two people out of however many people that you manage. And so in those line management conversations, draw out high demand, high support. What does this look like for you? When I'm giving you feedback, know that I'm trying to stay in this part of the quadrant. If you feel like I'm falling outside of that quadrant, you tell me. I might not agree with you, but know that you have absolute permission from me to challenge me and say, hey, I think you're being overly demanding without the support here. I need a little bit more from you. And you might turn around and say, hey, this is part of it. I need you're going to need to step up. Or you might take it and say, I recognize that. How, what else do I need to do? I'm feeling a bit burnt out. I'm feeling, whatever else.
Yeah.
And so I think when you start off with those very candid conversations of, look, I am going to challenge you at times. I am probably going to say some things that you're not going to like, but please know it comes from here. And please know I've got your back. Trust is all about behavior. It's not about a group of words that you put together and people then trust you. It's about behavior. And so if you can be consistent as a manager and as a leader and show up consistently, it will build trust.
Absolutely.
If you fly off the handle twice a month and you lose your rag, they're going to stop trusting you and they're going to stop coming to you with issues because it's not going to feel safe. If it happens every once in a while, it does. And we need to apologize for that. But you, as a manager and a leader, you must be more emotionally regular than your team.
Yes.
And if you're not emotionally regulated, you cannot manage the team. And so because we can't, help regulate somebody that's dysregulated when we're dysregulated.
Absolutely. And you alluded to a really relevant point where you said about people requiring different things. I've just done, or I'm going through my end of year catch-ups or reviews almost, we'd call them. And it's so true. There's just over 70 people on my team. And the conversation I have with them is that this is an opportunity for me to talk to you, but also for you to talk to me.
Yeah.
Because I am management, but I am a person as well. And, I'm willing to and very open to listen to feedback. I think humility is a fantastic trait as a manager, is that we don't have all the answers, but I'm prepared to listen to them and to learn them.
Yeah.
And how I support John is different to how I support Jess, right?
Yeah.
And then there's 68 other people that require different things.
Yeah.
And it's being very open to the fact that people are different. They require pulling and pushing in different ways.
Yeah.
And one of our values as a business is that we obsess over customers. And I think that's company-wide, that's on every level. And this sounds really cliche, and I'm not saying it for brownie points, but I genuinely feel like as a manager, you have to obsess over customers, and those customers are the people that you are in charge of, right?
Yeah.
You have to obsess over their journey, and you are a leader as long as your team give you the opportunity to lead.
Yeah.
And like you said, if that breaks down, then you're in for a really tough job. Lots of fantastic insights. Before we wrap up, what would be your headline advice? I know that this can probably, there's a bigger conversation here, but what would be your headline advice to an agent that is in the thick of it? They are maybe not getting the results that they want. They've been in it for a while. What would be your headline advice for them to say, look, hey, keep going? Because it's great for me to say it's out there, it's happening soon. Keep doing what you're doing. Talking to that person now, what would you say to them?
I'd say to the number one predictor of happiness from the longest running study going is connection. So if we inverse that, what's going to be the number one predictor of unhappiness is disconnection. When you're going through a difficult time, you disconnect. You stop talking to people, you stop making eye contact with people in the office, you avoid the leaderboard, you don't go and get your teas, you become disconnected. You need to reconnect. And this is the time that you go to that trusted person, or you go to your team, you go to your colleagues and you say, hey, I'm having a bit of a difficult month. We've got to put our ego to one side. We've got to be real with where we're at. And I promise you, if you do that, you will have a better experience than if you just try and put your head down and go for it yourself. Connection is fundamentally the most important thing. It's a component of resilience. It's a massive component of happiness. And ultimately, they're two things that we want to instill in ourselves. So if you want them, you've got to do it when it's hard, not just when it's going well.
Wow, that was
there you go.
That was pretty powerful. Yeah. I really appreciate it. It was brilliant.
Thank you,
Mark. This has been incredible. A reminder that in an industry like ours, success isn't just about what you earn; it's about how you endure. For anyone listening, whether you're already part of Haus & Haus or you're thinking about joining, remember your mindset is your greatest asset. If you found this episode valuable, share it with a colleague who might need to hear it today. And don't forget to follow Unlocking Success for more conversations that inspire, challenge, and empower you to grow. Thank you very much.